Lord, everyone. I am Elder Dr. Pamela Hall, and I just want to come before you for a few minutes. First, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life and all that is in it, and to our set gifts of the house, Elders Joseph and La-Quisha Brown. I am thankful for the opportunity to come before you, and I pray that something will be said today that will serve and minister to you. I was given the Bible characters of Philip's daughters. Acts 21 and 9 says, "And the same man had 4 daughters, virgins, which did prophesy." Now, I'm going to be myself. Okay, I'm a country girl from a small town in Mississippi. When I saw this, I was like, Lord, what in the world am I going to say about this? Is all that is said about these women, that they were virgins, that they were his daughters, they were virgins, it was 4 of them, and they prophesied. So I had to delve into the history books because I had to find out, why is it that when they canonized the Bible, the canonizers decided to give them an honorable, a less than honorable mention, because it doesn't even say their names. But because of who they were in history, they had to kind of mention them, allude to them a little bit. So I had to look in other sources to find out who these women were, that they got a less than honorable mention. Because other areas you'll see where you'll hear about Miriam, you'll hear about Mary, you'll hear about different women throughout the Bible, Deborah, Anna, but their names weren't even mentioned. So I'm like, okay, what was it about them that had the men so jealous that they left them out altogether? So I had to delve into some history. So bear with me, and I hope that you have your pen and your pad or whatever you use to take notes with, because these women are noteworthy. Now, history tells us that these women, you talk about hidden figures. History tells us more about Philip's daughters than the canonizers did. I found out the 4 daughters' names. The eldest daughter, her name was Hermione. The second, Euclidia, Miriam, and Arius. They were known as the great lights of the early church. They were known as prime examples of female leadership in the church. They were hidden in history's shadows. They prophesied. Now, today, when we think of prophecy, we think of foretelling and forthtelling, or predicting the future. But in the early church, the definition was broader. It included teaching as well as proclaiming difficult truths to people. Difficult truths. We are living in a time now where no one wants to hear the difficult truth. Everyone wants to be told that they are great, that they are lovely, that they are altogether wonderful, even when they are not. Everyone wants to be told that their way is the right way, even when it is not. No one wants to hear the difficult truth, but they proclaim the difficult truth. Now, of all of them, Hermione, the eldest daughter, was the only one who had a separate hagiography. A hagiography, I learned, is the life story of a saint. The life story of a saint. Hermione studied philosophy, the philosophy of medicine. Hermione moved to Greece, bought a home. In that home, she founded a medical clinic and devoted treatment to the poor and the homeless. She was known as an unmercenary physician. She did not accept fees for her services, so she had a lot of money. A lot of money. How many people have gone bankrupt due to healthcare costs? And this woman bought property and founded a medical clinic and was treating the poor and the homeless for free. I also learned that during that time, in the early times of the early church, that almost always the doctors were women. And I also learned that when they started the witch trials, that these were the people that they deemed witches. They were not practicing witchcraft. These women were doctors. These women were lawyers. These women were teachers. But men deemed them witches in order to steal their home and their land and their money. Now, later, she was joined by her sister, La-Quisha, and Hermione added rooms to her home to expand for the sick and the poor so that they can live there. She began what was first known as hostels, hospital hotels. This effort became the central part of Orthodox Christian tradition of charity and hospitality. She ministered to both the spirit and the body. Historian Eusebius Papias wrote of an account where Philip's daughters even raised a man from the dead. Now, according to 4th century Bishop Epiphanius, there existed within their bloodline, listed a long traceable line of prophetesses going back to Miriam, Moses' sister, and even to Eve in the garden. Hermione was rumored to have been tortured to death for her faith in Jesus, but another writer says that she was miraculously saved from death and lived the rest of her life in Ephesus. According to Polycrates, bishop of Ephesus, Philip and his other 3 daughters passed away in Ephesus. These women exercised their gifts freely and powerfully and were in demand. They were respected, they were famous. People visited them from all over to hear their accounts of the early decades of the church. They were respected at the levels of bishops and how they conducted themselves. They never married, they never had children. They devoted their entire existence to the cause and the word of Christ. Now, historian Eusebius put them as belonging to the first stage of apostolic succession. He deemed them the benchmark of prophecy for ministry in the early church. They set the stage, they set the tone, they set everything in order for how prophecy was conducted in the early church. And they were the ones who took over after the apostles, and they took over the apostolic ministry. People would travel great distances to hear them speak. And it is even believed that that Luke, the author of the book of Luke and the author of the Acts of the Apostles, that much of his writing is actually stories that he got from them, but he never gave them credit.